Hey, thanks for tuning in for another great conversation here on Strong Leader Development Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, you can catch every episode on your favorite platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So we'd look forward to you tuning in and on those platforms. Hey, welcome back. I'm so glad you joined us again today. Really want to talk about an important topic for pastors, ministry leaders, people who are in these leadership positions about how to delegate. How do I delegate? It's a difficult task, right? Have you ever ended a week just exhausted, wondering why your team isn't growing, or that you just feel like you're the one doing all the work? Well, part of that is we fall into this leadership feels like we ought to be doing more, and that's not always the case. It's about multiplying our impact. And so we want to talk a little bit more about that today and explore how to shift from being just a doer, the one who's carrying all the heavy load, to a developer, somebody who hands off things in the proper way, in a well-trained way, in a safe way, where you're taking some of the burden off of yourself as you move into your role. So there's this mindset shift that has to happen. This feeling of I've got to do. Part of that is many leaders move into their position because they were high capacity. They could carry a lot. They knew where everything was. They could put their finger on all the different parts. When somebody called, they could answer it really quick, take care of it. But eventually that becomes such a saturation, it's very hard to keep that going. Might be able to do it for years and years. But eventually it does catch up and things get dropped. People may get frustrated with you. You end up possibly out of integrity with folks because you didn't keep up with all the things that you said you would do. So it is one of the major traps in that is that we get caught in that mindset that it's just us, but it's a different game, and it requires production, not just production, but also reproduction. So you want to reframe this from if I don't do it, it won't get done, to, oh, if I don't teach, we'll never be able to scale. We'll never be able to grow. So it's interesting. Jesus really only poured into 12. He poured closely into 12. He sent out 72. He didn't do it all himself. He worked with and taught and guided, and then he sent them. And then some of them came back and even said, hey, Lord, we tried to do this and it didn't work. And so he had to give them some guidance around it. They came back and said, one particular example is when they came back and said, hey, we rebuked some people who were healing in your name. And he said, oh, don't do that. If they're for me, they're not against me. Right? So, but that is much easier than just carrying the whole load. And so Jesus is a great example for us to follow in terms of how to replicate and teach and guide and empower people to go out there. So true leaders multiply leaders, and they develop leaders. They create ownership in those people. They raise morale, and they expand the mission through the ones that we delegate to. Even if you're in a small church, there are volunteers willing to step up that you can delegate certain things to. So let's look at some of the traps that we fall into that put us in this position. First off is this mindset of they just won't do it as well as me. And that's true maybe at first. But if you don't let them try, how will you know? And secondly, sometimes they actually do it better than you once you've given it to them and given them permission to be creative within a certain set of standards or guidelines in which you want to hand that task off to them. Second trap is a guilt trap. It is this feeling that I would be selfish. I'm dumping on people. And that's not necessarily true. They're waiting in the wings, wanting to help, wanting to be a part of the ministry. You are actually creating opportunities. And when more people feel like they're involved in the church or in your ministry, they really do help it move forward. A third one is a speed thing. It's a speed trap. It's just faster if I do it. Sometimes we can even put in there easier. It's just easier if I do it. Initially, that's true, but this shortcut becomes a bottleneck. There becomes too many of them, and you cannot go as fast when you're having to look at several things at one time. So, what do we do? Well, here's somewhat of a framework. You want to train, track, and trust. First, you want to train them. Teach them what you know. Set clear expectations, what the end game looks like, what success looks like. And I always like following this model. I do it, you watch. Now we do it together. Now you do it. Let me give you some feedback. Now I launch you. Come to me if you have issues, and I may call you if I see something heading off the rails. That's one thing you can do, is just train that way. Second, I think within that also, within tracking, second is tracking. So train them. Now you want to track them. Now, this is not giving away your power, abdicating, but you are overseeing them. And there is a balance. There's a balance between oversight and allowing them to be empowered. When we let it go and have them do the task, we can't just say, okay, out of sight, out of mind, they'll take care of it. So we do need to track. And that's where there's some oversight, but empower them as well. So delegating is not detaching completely. Second, you want to check in, maybe have scorecards, dashboards. One things I would do is actually leave it to them to come by and see me at a certain time every week. It might be the first thing on Wednesday morning that they come by and they just drop in, and it's 20 minutes of, hey, what are you doing so far? What's going on? And keep up with them in that way. And you want to ask yourself, what does accountability really look like? If you're micromanaging, it's too much. But if you're keeping accountability to what they agreed they would do, and make those little small agreements. What are your next tasks, and by when will you do them? And you're keeping accountability. Hey, how have you been doing on that? You're able to track them much better. So you want to train, you want to track, and then finally you want to trust. You want to shift the control to empowerment. Allow them to be empowered to do it. Allow them to run and make some mistakes. Tell them you believe in them. Point out characteristics that you see in them that allow them to step into it. Hey, you're a caring person. You're very diligent. See those characteristics and point them out. And then when mistakes happen, treat it as a learning, not a failure. What could you have done better? And I like to do this type of feedback method. What went well? What have you done well? This is hard for them. Just know this is hard for them to brag on themselves because they're going to look at all their failures. And you want to point out what went well and build on that. Then what would be a better if? Don't have them give you a long list. What would be a better if? And then as they wrestle with that, you can verify their what went well. Yes, I saw that too. Help them celebrate. And you can say, yeah, I saw that. And let me give you one other thing that I noticed that can, and maybe I can help you with. And then launch them back out and trust them again. So you want to be able to delegate. You want to give away some of what you do so that you can be free to be the pastor and ministry leader that you've been called to be. And it's going to be difficult because the traps are strong. They hold on to us tight. So why don't you follow this simple tool? Think about these things. What is it that you're handing off? Why does it matter, right, to the ministry? Who is responsible? Who are you handing it off to? What does success look like? And what does checking in look like? And how frequent does that need to happen? So if you'll follow that short method, I really believe that you can help yourself unload some of these things that are starting to wear you out. It allows you to free up other areas where you really gain a lot of energy doing what you do. So really look at, what are my traps? Why am I holding on to these things? Look at, how would I hand them off so I can train and track and trust? What method would I use? And then finally, find a task this week to hand off. Just something small. And really measure, how is that going? Plug it into what I've given you and see how that goes. Don't give up on it just because it doesn't go well. Really assess, look back and say, okay, what could I have done different? Yes, this could have been better. I can do this a little bit better. What went well? Give yourself that own feedback, that same feedback. What went well? What would be a better if? And keep trying it. See, leaders who do everything teach nothing, but leaders who develop others build movements. So I hope you put that to prayer and spend some time really looking at, what are some things that I can give away so that I can be free to step into where I really am strong as a pastor or ministry leader. Thanks again for being a part of this today. I hope this has been helpful to you. As you know, you can reach out to us in several ways. Looking forward to working with you in the future. Are you curious about how strong leader development can support your growth? Book a free discovery session with me, and I'll walk you through what it looks like and how I can help you in whatever fashion you need. I like to listen and hear what you have and design whatever works best for you. So reach out and book that free session